Okay, good morning, class. I just wanted to go through for the games fair. So this should be your screen right now, but hopefully this video is showing up here. Um, so just to highlight some of the main things for the games fair, if you go to content at the end of this unit, so it's at the end of unit 3, I posted a whole bunch of things and I just wanted to make sure everything was clear here. And so there's an intro that you guys can start with. If we click on that, you'll notice that there's a PowerPoint to talk about what your game must have. And I mean must, I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to turn it back if it doesn't have this, because really that's the whole point. And so what I'm looking for is, these are single player games, so the person pays once and then they only can lose what they pay. So if they paid $2 or $1, those will be your choices. Nothing else. You can choose your prizes however you want. They only pay that dollar amount. They do a bunch of things or one thing, and then they win a prize. X values are dollar values. So from this unit 3, X's would be like the number of heads that you flipped or the number rolled on a die. But here it's always dollar values. You have to have 5 to 10 outcomes. So if you only have like 2 or 3, and these have to be different values. You can't use 0 a bunch of times and say that's 5 to 10. So I'm not so much worried about this, but if you have 0 more than once, you should use the rule of sum and just add those up. You can only use integer values. That's part of the challenge, because like if you could use like $1.50 as a prize or $3.50 as a prize, and it's kind of easier to get into the range. But I want you to keep in the integer values, just part of the challenge. You should have a grand prize just to make the game a little bit more fun. You should have at least $20 or $10, depending on whether you charge 1 or 2. You have to be relatively complex, so you can't just say, okay, you roll 2 dice and then the outcome on the 2 dice. We've done that before. That's not what we're looking for. So compound events, where you use the fundamental counting principle, multiply, that would be the most basic game. But if you can use a binomial or hypergeometric, the point of that is people really just can't tell what the probabilities are just by looking at them. So if it's just a spinner and there's 1 out of 10 chance, well, I know I'm going to win 10% of the time. So you want to kind of mask those probabilities a little bit. This is the key, and this is on the other handout as well. Your expected value needs to, this is the challenge, expected value needs to be -0.4 to -0.8 for the player. And so if you subtract the 2 and think of the prizes as positives, your experimental value should be negative so that you profit. And then if you're charging 1, it'd be -0.2 to -0.4. And the game is easy to set up, so you can run trials pretty quick. I'm going to ask for 100 trials, so I want you to be able to do that. Not play this really long game a whole bunch of times. So, and then this isn't so much pertaining to online because you're just going to present the rules however you want. This is a sample game, and so I've actually done this as shared this spreadsheet with you, I think. These are the probabilities, and this is a binomial. And so I've actually talked through, or I've shown the probabilities for the binomial on the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is all linked so that you can see, so that all these numbers change with these dollar values. The dollar values you're actually going to be able to like be flexible with a little bit. This is the number of lights, and so since it's you got a probability, that's just a binomial. You can have this already subtracted the $2, or you can subtract the 2 at the end. So then if you subtract the 2 in this column, your lowest prize is going to be -2 or -1 if you're playing a $1 game. But if you subtract it after to the expected value, then your lowest prize should be 0. Okay, so that's where you should start for your game, and so you've got to focus on that. And then what I'm looking for the report, because you're going to write your report as soon as that's done. You can click this button to make it come up a little bit bigger. What I'm looking for the report is following through. I'm going to mark it on this rubric. And so you need to everyone should meet the basic criteria, or I'm going to ask you to do it again. The complexity, and so if you kind of used a little bit more than just this times this, then you'll be in level 4. The rules, so I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. The rules, so just make sure you state your rules in your report. You've got this table that I just showed you for theoretical probability and expected value. You should have an identical one for experimental that you can compare here in the comparison section. And so like if you've got the I did a video example for the theoretical and the experimental. And then you should have a graph of both. So I'm looking at the graphs. So that's one of the big things I'm going to look for. And then just go with how you would improve or what you'd want to focus on a little bit more. Gotta find that thing again. If you're a PC user and gone to Mac, then you're kind of with me on this. And then make a connection to the games fair in real life. So a big thing here is we're looking at is gambling. Okay, and so that'll get you started for the games fair. You really, what I always tell people to do is go to the practice questions to try to make games. The lights question was really from the practice. And don't make it too complicated. As long as you're using permutations, combinations, it's complicated enough.